the emanation of the great master, the Sangye Yichi, the 25 disciples of Ngurpa Masambho, or one of the foremost disciples of Ngurpa, 9 foremost disciples, or heart student of Ngurpa Masambho. Velas in the teaching often said, he was also emanation of the musicians. And in both ways, he was one of the great masters. That is, in a way, in Tibet we used to call scriptural support, teaching support that this master is special because it was identified, recognized, predicted in the teaching, therefore he is good. And who predicted? This was renowned as Ngurpa Masambho, predicted many times. Said, Nupchi Drpa Mipham Cho. The reincarnation of the Nupchi Sadhyishi, the named Mipham, who will dispel all the foreign invaders in Tibet and will have said heaven to practices. That's what the teaching said. It is true, because when you look at the time frames of the Tibetans are invaded by the foreigners, interrupted completely their happy and peace and the living standards, as you know. That happened about 60 years before. 60 years that came before, in a way, about that. So in many teaching masters, you say, many of those great masters came around that time, such as Mipham Rinpoche's first Kuntra, first Chense. They throw their blessing, the power, really the invasions of the foreign, disturbance of the practice prevented at least over 60 years. Then you can read also the colophons of the great masters, many prayers of the colophons of the great master, first Chense. Always is concerned and worrying about the invaders to Tibet and going to interrupt this. And he asked Jangpo Kuntra, great Jangpo Kuntra, do pray, do this pray, do that pray. You must encourage, as he encouraged them. And Mipham Rinpoche himself too did this. So therefore, he was one of the great masters, predicted by the Ngurpa Masambho. Then not just predicted that, but what he was, Mipham Rinpoche, that is a big monument. The Mipham Rinpoche is not an ordinary person. Because Mipham Rinpoche didn't really go in the academic schools as many others does to learn all the science, 5 different sciences of the knowledges. He didn't really go pursue. He just received transmission, the blessings only that, but didn't thoroughly study the one there. But his knowledge is infinite. It's deep and infinite. And all the entire Buddha teaching, that all that. There's beautiful stories. One time, he is meditating near the Chamdu, which is Eastern Tibet, practices. And one day he asked his attendants, could you bring the entire Kanjur that I like to read and I to know? And these attendants bringing the Kanjur, that means over 100 volumes of the text that he is bringing. And Mipham Rinpoche is in hermitage cave. He is reading that. But he is reading, where he is reading, he is just looking through very roughly, and then he is wrapping up that, the Tibetan text is like this. This Tibetan text is like this. So then he is kind of opening and looking through a little bit, and then wrapping up, and he's sending back. Over 100 volumes like this. Then around maybe 60 volumes something, this student asked to Mipham, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because it looks like you're not really looking or reading. I thought you were going to read and keep at least those books few days and then just go by one after another, slowly. He said, I'm reading, I know all the meanings. Maybe word, I don't remember all the wordings, all that. But meaning of this all I know. You can ask me. You can tell me. You can read and ask me all. And this is true. That this student asked. And he knew all the meanings. Even he said, wordings are maybe not he remembered. But many wordings are remembered. Mipham Rinpoche wrote all those books and teachings. There's over 32 volumes. It's not just went through the research and went to the library and copying that, as many of us does. He just wrote that. So that tells the knowledge of the Mipham Rinpoche is deep and infinite and sharp and clear. Clear. Not just only the Buddha's teachings, the medicines, and the grammars, language of Sanskrits, and the geometries, the alchemists, all that he wrote those books and all different astrologers, so forth. So therefore, this is great Master Mipham Rinpoche is one of the great masters, scholars in the Buddhist historians. Then realization level is very highly realization. It's not just academic level, he is great scholars, but realization, because he is reincarnation of the Sangye Yeshi and emanation of the great Menjushri, wisdom Buddha Menjushri. Therefore, his wisdom is so powerful, and the realization is so true, and the power and ability is just. And also in the way he said in the teaching, that when he wrote those books, he's not spending writing time all the time, all day. In the teaching, the life story, many great masters used to say, so that he writes those only between the period of the practices. Otherwise, he's practice all the time. But during the lunch breaks or some breaks, he just writes and then he leaves. Next day, he started. Even you don't have to look to the reference, the way he stopped, the way he did that. This means he has photographic memories in his mind, or in his brain, in his heart, that he writes. This is the great master. You can read those life stories in the other books, so I'm just highlight of this. This is the great master, that he is the writer of this also particular teachings. So therefore, he is, always in the Nalanda Monastery University, this writer is authentic. This writer is perfect. Therefore, we don't need to be doubt and hesitate, that we can accept with joy, confidence, happy, and observing this every words and meanings in our heart and mind. That's what it says, and that's the reason who wrote this teaching or who wrote these books. Second, then where this teaching belongs with categories. Whether it's, for example, roughly say this belongs with sutra or this belongs with standard section. So what this teaching roughly? Second, now we're going to pinpoint deeper and deeper.